The sound of something snapping breaks the silence, followed by a very grumpy sigh from our boy. He wakes up with a start, short of breath, and his vision darker than the bottom of a well. In one jump, the MC gets up holding his head, already yelling to find out which Joker is trying to send him packing early. Still kind of groggy. He gropes the empty air and wonders what kind of hole destiny decided to shove him into this time. And to think that 10 minutes ago, he was raising a glass with his buddies and swearing eternal friendship. The scene was totally different. Our main guy was chilling on the couch in the good company of two ladies, when a buddy pops up asking if he also got hooked on that game called Great Jianghu. He gives that little smirk and confirms that ever since he was a kid he never turned down a good martial arts brawl. The MC, who goes by the name Lin Hui, jumps into the conversation and explains that a game that drops you right into the action like that is a rare gem. His only complaint is that the devs are way too slow, since he already cleared the map and beat the entire available story. His friends mention that the game's headset looks like something from another planet and that the pre-order costs around 20 million, a kind of cash none of them have seen even in their wildest dreams. Hearing their whining, Lin Hui just snaps his fingers, flashing that smile of someone who knows exactly what's in his wallet. The moment he snaps, a staff member shows up with a tray in hand, carrying that exact space-age headset, and asking if that was the luxury item they were talking about. The crew's jaws drop to the floor, stuttering and pointing at the device like they just saw a ghost made of solid gold. One of them catches his breath and shouts that this is the full dive model that hasn't even hit the shelves yet. Our boy, with that know-it-all face, casually says they only got half the story right. He thinks about his brothers, poor guys, always drowning in the family business with no time to even breathe, let alone have fun, since he's the illegitimate kid, the youngest who doesn't have the right to a single dime of the inheritance. He decided the best job in the world was to be a top-tier useless playboy. Not wanting to waste any more breath, the MC grabs the headset, cuts the chatter, and announces he's logging in to put on a show with his new secret technique. He slaps the toy on his head and the thing immediately flashes that red, "It is about to go down" light. Suddenly, a voice pops into his mind. It was his brother letting him know that the MC's existence is a liability, and because of that, he hopes he finds his peace in the next life. One of the friends, totally oblivious to the tragedy, points at the glowing headset and yells that the visual effects are straight out of a movie. Except, out of nowhere, the MC's head decides to turn into fireworks and the two girls next to him start screaming their lungs out over the messy situation. Now back in his body, or what's left of it, the boy lets out a groan and figures that, by the looks of it, he just caught the transmigration express. He feels like the king of idiots, after all, even playing the role of a freeloader. His brother found a way to turn his lights out, making him wonder if stepping away from power was a huge mistake. The anger boils up, and the MC's eyes start glowing in a shade of red that spells bad news for everyone. Then comes that memory flash from his new body, a woman rushing in to tell an old man that the missus has passed away, and the gentleman lamenting that the kid is already starting life without a mom. The MC quickly gets the picture. In this life, he's Chushu, the second of 4 brothers in the Chu family. But since he's the son of the maid who already passed away, he's worth less than a $3 bill. The original owner of the body was a pushover who tried to cling to the oldest brother and ended up taking off the next one in line, who set a trap and sent the poor guy to grind away in a coal mine. The punishment was supposed to be 3 years, but since the family decided it was time to pick the new boss, they called the MC back, seeing as even the black sheep gets a vote in the succession, and that is exactly why he finds himself right now bouncing around inside a carriage on his way home. Already in the comfort of the ride, he stares at his sword and mutters the name Chushu to see if he can get used to the sound of it. Looking at his own face reflected in the steel blade, he gets the feeling that the name isn't unfamiliar at all. Suddenly, it hits him like a ton of bricks, and he realizes exactly what kind of mess he got himself into. He remembers that, right before the headset went boom, the game Great Jiangwu was about to drop an update where the final boss was none other than the demon lord Tu Shu. The character's backstory says the guy was born into the Chu family and went through so much garbage that he decided to flip the table and pursue a career as a villain. The lore ends by saying that Shu Shu raises the Kunlun demonic cult from the ashes, which had been buried for about 1,000 years, and with 4 generals by his side, he turns the martial world upside down, with a power that leaves no stone unturned. The main guy runs his finger along the edge of the sword, thinking his destiny is to be a legend, but soon wonders how hard the fall will be at the end. He flicks the metal and remembers that, in any game, The big boss is only there to get a beatdown from the hero in the final act. With the smile of someone who has a plan, he grips the weapon and asks himself if he was really born with a destiny set up to fail. Looking like a true villain, he decides he is going to flip the board. If in his past life he played it safe and ended up a memory, this time he is fighting tooth and nail, and if it comes to throwing hands, he is striking first. Just then, a maid named Yahello pulls back the carriage curtain and asks if the young master is needing a miracle. The boy digs into his memories and recalls that, while the old Shu was eating dust in the mine, this girl was using his name to cause trouble, trashed his reputation, and even riled up the miners to get rid of the poor guy. With a smile that would give a ghost the chills, he answers that it was nothing. Just a knife that decided to kiss the floor. Yurei finds his vibe a bit sketchy but quickly goes back to her plan and suggests taking a shortcut through Yuanbao, saying the main roads are a total mud pit. The MC gives her the side-eye, remembering that this so-called shortcut goes right through a dense forest that happens to be the favorite hangout spot for local bandits. She leans in closer, with that sweet talk about how caravans pass through there all the time and how she is tired and sweaty, dying to get there fast so she can give him some better service. With a stare that pierces the soul and a wide grin, the main guy gets comfortable to play along with her game. He gives the girl a solid pinch on the cheek and the poor thing freezes, sensing that her master has turned into a completely different, way more dangerous person. But, in a flash, he goes back to looking like an angel. Flashes a smile and agrees that Yuanbao City is indeed a great route. After the scare, he just waves her off and tells her to go set up the servants' quarters like usual. Yair steps out of the carriage letting out a breath, fully believing he did not catch on to anything, and that she was just stressing over nothing. Left alone, the MC figures her pushiness to change the route smells like trouble but decides to call her bluff. After all, there's a gift waiting for him on this path. He pulls the curtain back and thinks that his greatest weapon in this new life isn't the title of future demon lord. His real ace in the hole is knowing every single detail of what went down in the first 2 versions of the game by heart, which puts him 10 steps ahead of everyone else. By his math, he dropped right at the start of Phase 1, and there's still about 20 years left before things really hit the fan in Part 2. On top of that, the main guy knows every piece of gossip and every tragedy in this world from the last 2 decades. From the biggest events down to the dumbest details, the plan is dead on. This thing called Datian Yanjue, the treasure the Chu family drools over the most, is going to show up in Yuanbao, and his older brother already sent a lackey to fetch it. The strategy is simple. He snatches the treasure first and even uses his brother's men as a smokescreen while he disappears with the prize. The moment they step into town, Yueyao starts scoffing, saying the place is a wasteland compared to Tongzhou and asking what could possibly be worth seeing in all that dust. Our boy just cracks a half smile and remarks that the folks there are way too busy not starving to death to go looking for fun. That is when he spots the target, a little door with a sign reading, Weiji Mystery Box Shop. He thinks, this is the spot. These boxes, called Mizang, are the ultimate craze in the Zhangbul world. Legend has it that thousands of years ago, a massive disaster wiped the martial arts sects off the map. Whatever valuable stuff was left got locked away in these boxes of every type, size, and material you can imagine. The rule is simple. The fancier the box and the more energy it gives off, the more hardcore the item hiding inside is. After that cataclysm, these boxes popped up everywhere. But since nobody knows how to make them anymore, every single one that gets opened is one less in the world. Pure relics. The catch is that not all that glitters is gold. A lot of boxes are completely empty or full of junk, so opening one is just like playing the lottery. It is all about luck. The MC walks into the shop with the swagger of someone who owns the world. He goes straight to the counter and asks why business is so dead, considering the guy is the only one selling the boxes in town. And the owner complains that in Yuanbao, nobody has a red cent gamble, even with the boxes selling for peanuts. Suddenly, the merchant's eyes light up with an idea. He switches his tone and says that unlike the riffraff, the main guy looks like he is swimming in cash, and swears the boxes came straight from the Nanman ruins, with a buddy discount to boot. While eyeing the stock, the boy thinks he needs a solid technique, because even though the Chu family has its tricks, the old Shu was such a slacker he never made it past the body refining realm. The ABCs of martial arts start with these 3 stages of toughening up, where a guy ends up with iron bones and the strength of a bull. 90% of fighters never make it past that. Above that level, things get serious with the blood condensation realm and the Jinxian, which is where the real heavy hitters hang out. The MC pulls a golden nugget from his memory. Right around this time, a lowly servant from the Sun family bought a regular box in Yuanbao and hit the jackpot with a supreme technique that turned him into a master with his own sect. He stares at those raggedy boxes on the shelf and wonders if destiny is really going to do him a solid right there. Meanwhile, the shop owner is lecturing a young guy, saying that serving the Lee family is tough work and that he should stop throwing money away since his boss gave him a shot to become a supervisor. The guy, some dude named Li Jing, replies with a cocky little smirk, saying that even as a supervisor, he is still just going to be an errand boy for the Li family. But if he gets lucky enough to pull a divine technique out of one of these boxes, his life will flip from night to day. He then points to a golden box and a purple sphere, already pulling out his wallet to buy them. But in that exact second, the MC's hand comes down hard on the golden box, and he casually announces that he is taking the store's entire stock. Li Jing loses his mind and complains to the shop owner that he had called dibs first. With a look like he is staring at a bug, our boy faces the guy and asks if he has a problem with him buying everything out. Li Jing raises his voice and asks if the MC thinks he can walk all over him just because he is a servant, and immediately starts barking the Li family's name to see if it strikes fear. The MC lets out a mocking laugh and points out that the guy literally just said he did not want to be a servant. Yet here he is, flashing his boss's badge to act tough. He looks deep into the kid's eyes and says it is a joke, but his simple lackey thinks the Li family name is going to scare him. With a snap of his fingers, two guards pop up out of nowhere and surround Li Jing, who immediately starts shaking in his boots. The MC's muscle guys do not waste a second. They grab the dude and toss him out into the middle of the street like trash. The boy looks at the pathetic guy on the ground and thinks he gave up way too easy. With a mindset that fragile, it is no surprise he turned into a D-list villain in the game, and declares that in this playthrough, he is not getting a turn. He orders his men to pack up all the boxes, leaving Yue'er completely clueless about this massive spending spree. Seeing his loss, Li Jing feels a tightness in his chest, like he just lost the winning lottery ticket. Foaming at the mouth with rage, he gets off the ground and screams to the wind that he is not letting this go, swearing to get his payback. Now in the peace and quiet of the inn, the MC gets ready for the main event. He makes a tiny cut on his finger and lets a drop of blood christen the purple sphere. Instantly, the spear lights up in a vibrant purple and starts shooting sparks everywhere. From inside it, a green jade scroll pops out and flies right into his hand. He instantly recognizes it as the 4th level technique of the Heavenly Gate. He feels the technique's energy rushing through his veins, stuff that's capable of creating pure Xiantian Qi and making the body bulletproof against any harm, and finally understands how that Li Jing guy turned into such a beast in the original story. A 4th level technique is a rare gem in the martial world, the kind of thing you can use to build a sect from scratch and become a top dog. As for the 5th and 6th level ones, they are straight up urban legends, things only the oldest and most powerful clans keep under lock and key. And anything from the 7th level up, those are the so-called divine techniques that make the world shake and, these days, have completely vanished from the map. If high-level techniques are already hard to find, above the 9th level there are still the supreme and peerless secrets, but those have basically become bedtime stories, because nobody can practice them anymore. Our boy grips the scroll and breaks into a smile, thinking that with the Xinjian technique in his pocket, he finally has the foundation to avoid becoming a punching bag in the Shu family's cutthroat turf wars. He takes a look at the rest of the stash and gets hyped, figuring that among so many boxes, another premium prize might still pop out. Meanwhile, across town, Li Jing takes a deep bow to a guy sprawled out on a bed, calling him 7th Master. The guy is Li Teng, one of the top trade bosses of the Li family, who immediately offers a drink and promises to call in a lady to keep his ally entertained. But Li Jing wants nothing to do with partying. Practically foaming at the mouth, he says he was robbed in broad daylight by some guy who wiped the floor with the Li family name, leaving Li Teng's jaw on the floor at the sheer audacity. Then Li Jing starts spilling his guts, giving him the full rundown of everything that went down at the shop. Li Teng listens to every single detail in that silence of someone frying their brain cells trying to process the situation. It doesn't take long before he blows up, swearing that not even a dog from the Lai family gets pushed around without payback, and orders his men to track down the wise guy, making Li Jing melt with gratitude. Half an hour later, a lackey shows up with the report and lets them know the thief has Zhu family blood, which makes Li Teng deflate instantly. The man face palms and says the situation is way trickier, since the Chu family calls all the shots in Tongzhou. while the Lee family is the weakest link in the chain. He warns that not even their own young master would pick this fight and tells the kid to just eat the loss. With his blood boiling, Li Jing agrees through gritted teeth, but his mind is telling him a whole different story. But then something clicks for Li Tong, and he asks what a Chu heir would be doing in the middle of nowhere, demanding to know which of the brothers is the one pulling strings. The subordinate reveals it is none other than Chu Shu. Hearing the name, Li Tong lets out a belly laugh that echoes through the room and tells Li Jing that the payback is happening with interest on top. Li Jing does not get why he is so happy, but his boss explains that Chu Shu is the black sheep, a total pushover the family barely remembers exists, and who has less authority than a manager at a corner store. All fired up, he jumps out of bed and rallies the troops to go say he to the trashy second young master, figuring that humiliating a nobleman is going to be the highlight of his week. Li Jing feels a bit uneasy because that supposed coward did not match up at all with the ruthless guy who almost snatched his soul back at the shop. Back in his room, the main guy is already in the zone, running the new technique to his body. With a sharp move, he fires off a burst of green energy that slices through the air, proving the training is paying off. He stares at the scroll and thinks that, even though the stuff is deep, the intro was a piece of cake and the first level is already in the bag. Holding a dagger, the kid notices the blade technique is super straight to the point, dealing a single strike that destroys everything, but reaching perfection is going to take some serious elbow grease, which is exactly what he needs right now. Out of nowhere, the door gets kicked in and some fool yells, asking where Chu Shu is hiding, telling him to come out and beg for forgiveness for messing with the Li family. Right after, Li Tong and his gang of thugs storm the room, smashing whatever they see and screaming the MC's name. From the top of the stairs, our boy just watches the chaos in that dead silence right before the storm. Li Jing points his finger and snitches on him, so Li Tong immediately starts barking that the MC is out of line, demanding the boxes back along with an apology, or things are going to get really ugly for him. The main guy walks down the steps as cool as a cucumber and, with a little smirk, asks what happens if he decides to keep the boxes. Biting back his rage, Li Tong threatens the kid, warning him that if he does not take it down a notch, there won't be a road out of Yuanbao that he leaves in one piece. With his usual sarcasm, the MC repeats his sentence, wondering out loud if they actually think they are big enough to block his path, and lets out a toxic little chuckle. This total lack of care leaves Li Tong and Li Jing looking like deer in headlights, completely clueless. In the very next second, an insane amount of green pressure explodes from the kid's body, tracing the silhouette of a giant dragon in the air. The sheer weight of the energy is so brutal that the two of them freeze up, their hearts pounding out of their chests in pure terror. With his eyes glowing an eerie purple, the MC warns them that his patience ends right where a threat begins and, staring down the goon squad, asks who wants to be the first to take a one-way trip to the underworld. Peeking through the crack in the door, Yether completely loses it when she sees that Chu Shu is not playing around and has already started taking out the trash. The MC then takes a slow, deliberate walk straight toward Li Tong. Drenched in sweat and shaking like a leaf, Li Tong stutters, unable to believe the kid actually has the guts to take things this far. With a single step, our boy makes the duo back up on pure survival instinct. He gets right up in Li Tong's face, who is so paralyzed he cannot even blink anymore. The MC grabs the guy by the collar and asks where he got the nerve to come barking at his front door, calling the man reckless and then some. He presses the edge of the dagger against the chubby guy's neck, who feels the cold steel and starts saying his final goodbyes. The man realizes he has been a massive idiot, totally forgetting that the kid has the Chu leader's blood and that laying a finger on him is the same as spitting in the entire family's face. Except, instead of finishing the job, the MC pulls the metal away from the poor guy's neck. He hands the dagger over to Li Tong and tells him to hold it tight, leaving the miserable guy wondering what the trick is. With a look that freezes you to the core, our boy repeats the order for him to grip the blade. Li Tong obeys on autopilot, and the MC says that, since he came looking for trouble, he now has the golden opportunity to flip the script and end him right then and there. Completely lost and shaking like a leaf, Li Tong holds the weapon without a single clue what to do with it. The MC then squeezes the guy's hand, forcing the tip of the dagger against his own neck, and yells at him to finish the job. The steel actually shakes against the kid's skin, but Li Tong just doesn't have the guts to stab the main guy. Seeing that his opponent is an absolute coward, our boy lets go of his hand with the utmost disgust. He gives Li Tong a solid slap to the face and humiliates the guy for throwing his chance away, saying he isn't even fit to hold a knife. and tells him to pick up his fallen guys and get out of his sight. As the gang bolts out of there, Yahello just stands there, totally frozen, wondering exactly when the Chushu she knew turned into this absolute monster. Li Jing still tries to call out to the seventh master, but the man only cares about running away, sporting a look that's a mix of pure hatred and sheer terror. Except Li Tong turns right around and smacks Li Jing across the face, pinning all the blame on the servant and swearing he will collect on this debt, even if that third young master tries to bail him out. That very same night, our boy is already moving his pieces to set the plan in motion. One of the guards, Gao Bei, walks into the room looking like a giant question mark, wanting to know why the young master called him in at such an ungodly hour. The MC just studies the guy, remembering that Gao Bei joined the family as a kid and was always the kind of guy who didn't stand out, with super mediocre talent that took him 10 years just to reach the refining realm, but who's got the kind of honesty you just have to respect. He lays it out that he was sent to be punished in the mines, and that Gao Bei drew the short straw to tag along, asking if the guard holds any grudges about it. But the man replies he never even felt worthy of serving the second young master, and is honestly thrilled to have the chance. The MC points out that the guy has been with the house for over a decade and is still at the bottom of the barrel, while others who started with him are already living the high life, and asks if it doesn't leave a bitter taste in his mouth to face so much injustice. But Gao Bei says he's a bit slow on the uptake and that the little he has is already more than enough. With a serious face, our boy tells him he is dead wrong. After all, even a dog that gets a taste of good meat doesn't want to chew on bones anymore. And it is the exact same with people. Nobody is ever truly satisfied. He rests his hand on Gao Bei's shoulder and warns him that, since they have been on this road together for a long time, their destinies are now tied, whether they climb to the top or crash and burn, and asks if the message sunk in. Caught off guard, Gao Bei quickly blurts out a, "Yes, sir." But MC shakes his head and says he missed the point entirely. He explains that destiny is just the starting push. The rest is all sweat and fighting, because nothing falls from the sky, and for those born without a silver spoon, the only way up is to put your neck on the line. The guard stands there processing it and figures that, even if common sense says no, this sudden shift in his master gives him a crazy urge to go all in, since it is the only shot he has at becoming a somebody. With his fists clenched and his chest puffed out, Gao Bei stands up and swears he will follow the young master's orders to the very end. Our boy hands him a letter and tells the guy to hit the road immediately, with absolutely zero room for error. With a creepy smile, the MC thinks that, since Yahello decided to play the betrayal game, she can't complain now if the payback comes with some wicked interest. Sometime later, their carriage is already rattling down a dirt road in the middle of nowhere. Inside, Yahello asks about Gao Bei's whereabouts, and our boy, just lounging casually, replies that he sent the guy ahead to let the mansion know the boss is coming home. The trip continues at that totally peaceful pace down the dirt road. All of a sudden, the MC sits up and, with that wicked little smirk, asks Yahello if she thinks there is any risk of a bandit showing up to spice up the ride. The girl gets spooked and begs him not to jinx it, saying nobody is crazy enough to mess with a Chu heir, but he insists that natural disasters can be dodged. But what a man plots, that is what catches you completely off guard. She lets out a giggle, thinking it is just a joke, but at that exact moment, a shout comes from outside, ordering everyone to stop right there. The driver slams on the brakes and the carriage comes to a dead halt, instantly making the mood heavy. The main guy pulls back the curtain and, with an "I told you so" smile, says that the custom-made disaster just knocked on their door. Outside, the road is completely jammed with thieves armed to the teeth, blocking off any chance of escape. The boss of the gang, a hulking guy named Lian Lao San, starts yelling for everyone to step out of the vehicle right now. One of the kids' guards steps up respectfully and asks what the deal is, already offering some silver to see if they'll let the crew keep going. Except the bandit bursts out laughing and warns that their hides are worth way more than loose change, and straight up asks the guard if he wants to meet his end facing forward or looking away. At that, our boy steps out of the carriage and lays it out. If someone put a bounty on his head, he will match the offer and pay double for them to get out of his sight. The bandit is actually surprised, noting that the second son of the Chu family had a reputation as a total zero, but surprisingly has ice in his veins. Except, since he is a man of his word, he warns the MC that his ticket to the next life is already booked. With that trademark smirk, our boy replies that, since his money cannot buy his own life, then the bandits better start trying to buy theirs. Before the guy could even blink, the MC dashes forward at an otherworldly speed, catching him completely off guard. The leader of the thieves can barely process what is going on. That is how fast the strike was. Foaming with rage, this lion Lao San yells that he's going to split the MC in half and brings a giant sword crashing down on him. The swing comes down with everything he has got, carrying enough force to crush anyone standing in the way. But, making everyone's jaw drop, our boy blocks that massive blade using nothing but a tiny dagger, stopping the attack right in mid-air. It turns into a fierce clash of metal against metal, and the MC holds his ground without even flinching. The bandit goes into shock, completely lost as to how that young master who supposedly was not worth a dime managed to tank his strike. Right after Lian Lao San goes for a side slash, but the MC ducks with crazy agility and lets the strike swing through empty air. He seizes the opening and goes on the offensive. His dagger glows with a blue energy as he charges in for the knockout. The steel slices through to wind, leaving a trail of light headed straight for the bandit's neck. With a sharp, flawless move, the MC's dagger opens up a nasty slice across the poor guy's throat. It is the end of the line. This Lian Lao San kisses the ground, taken out with a single strike. In a final attempt, the bandit still tries to land a hit, while the kid curls up on the ground, pretending to be scared to death. Seeing the scene, the rest of the gang dies laughing, calling the MC trash and saying their boss didn't even need to bother fighting. But Lian Lao San is furious because, even though it looks like the kid is panicking, the brat is dodging everything, and he thinks that if he can't beat this useless guy, he's the one who's worthless. He explodes with hatred and screams for the MC to stop running and face him like a man. The bandit goes all or nothing, but the MC just dodges with his body and comes out clean. Our boy then decides to end the playtime, wraps his arm in a green aura and goes on the offensive. In the spot on strike, he tries to drive the dagger into the guy's chest, who turns his face at the last second, but ends up taking a slash to the cheek to learn some manners. The blade missed by a hair, and the bandit freezes as he realizes the surgical precision of the attack. The MC still manages to carve a cut into the guy's shoulder, who feels the damage instantly. The brute takes a step back, drenched in cold sweat with his heart in his throat, processing that he almost turned into a memory, since that strike was almost curtains for him. Tightening his grip on the dagger, the MC lets out a frustrated sigh. His technique still isn't razor sharp, otherwise the bandit wouldn't have even had time to blink, let alone dodge. With his nerves shooting through the roof, Lian Lao San realizes he bit off more than he can chew and yells for the whole gang of thugs to charge all at once and wear the main guy's crew down. The mob charges in like a war zone, screaming and foaming at the mouth to get the job done. But before the first guy even gets close, a voice cuts through the air asking if anyone there asked for permission to start the farewell party. Out of nowhere, a tall guy with a sword the size of a light pole pops up in the middle of the mess, leaving the bandits with their eyes wide open. The guy moves at a speed the eye can barely track, wrapped in a white aura that screams he's been around the block and come out on top. With that smile of someone who just found a $100 bill in the trash, this Mokwo announces he smelled a sweet deal and wants his piece of the pie too. Huddled in the carriage, Yueyer completely loses it when she sees another gang of thieves and starts breaking into a cold sweat, wondering if the second lady decided to send the whole army to take the MC out of the picture. In a flash, the new group surrounds the old one and the road turns into a chessboard, with everyone staring each other down to see who blinks first. The main guy narrows his eyes and, by the looks of it, he already spotted who's calling the shots for the new crew from a mile away. Lian Lao San, foaming with rage, recognizes his rival and yells that this turf is already taken, demanding to know what Mokwo is doing in his backyard. Mokwo doesn't even give the yelling the time of day, and the divide between the two gangs turns sorer than a bad lemon. Without wasting his breath, Mokwo flashes a smile and immediately swings his giant sword down in an attack nobody saw coming. Lian Lao San still manages to block the strike with his own weapon, and the sound of crashing metal makes the ground shake. Except the heavy-handed Mokwo is a whole different ballgame. He not only knocks the sword out of his rival's hand, but also gives his hand a nasty trim in the process, sending the weapon flying. Holding his battered hand, the brute backs up howling in pain, while his goons just stand there paralyzed, watching their boss get dismantled without having a clue what's going on. Seeing that the gig is up, the big bad boss yells that a smart man doesn't fight a losing battle and orders his pack of thieves to make tracks as fast as possible. With his face all twisted in hate and pain, he turns his back to make a run for it. But Mokwo isn't the type to leave a job half-finished before he can even take his first step to escape. Mokwo catches up to the guy and, with a clean swing, makes Leon Lawson's head lose connection with his shoulders. The leader's body hits the dirt, and the rest of the gang turns into statues, terrified to their core of being the next ones in line. The MC walks up with all the calm in the world and thanks him for the favor, but the bandit immediately asks if he isn't afraid of getting stabbed in the back right about now. That's when Galbei arrives completely out of breath, letting out a sigh of relief for not missing the show, and confirms that this right here is Boss Ma, the contact the MC sent him to track down. With that mastermind smile, our boy explains that Ma Kuo is an old dog, and since he read the letter, he already knows the payout is way bigger if the kid stays breathing. Taking him out earns some silver, but keeping him alive scores the promised refined ore, enough to arm his gang to the teeth. He throws the question in the air about what the logical choice is, leaving Ma Kuo standing there, chewing on a deal that's sweet as honey. The MC lays his cards on the table and explains that the second lady is pure poison and wouldn't give him a break. As soon as Yahello suggested the shortcut, he caught onto the ambush and decided to give them a taste of their own medicine. He wraps it up with an ironic smile if she can spend money to have his lights put out. He can also spend money to hire VIP security, leaving even Galbei's jaw on the floor. Ma Kuo is still suspicious, asking if this isn't just sweet talk, since ore is the Chu family's big treasure. But the MC replies that if his own family wants him sleeping in a box, he has zero reason to penny pinch their stash. Our boy hands the paper over to Ma Kuo and lets him know that, with this, he can pick up a batch of ore for peanuts, and that the choice to get rich or not is all on the thief. The bandit grumbles about rich family drama, but admits the kid is a straight shooter. Satisfied with the bargain, Ma Kuo lets out a laugh, and tells him that if he ever needs another favor, just give him a holler. Because when it comes to taking out the trash, he is fast and even gives a buddy discount. While the gang walks away throwing a party, the MC thinks to himself that the guy comes from a lineage of bandits with a solid fighting tradition, and that Galbei just got super lucky finding such a big fish. At the same time, he realizes that Ma Kuo is an absolute legend of the roads and is actually impressed that his kind of slow guard managed to seal the deal. Inside the carriage, Yahello is shaking like a leaf, unable to understand how the perfect plan turned into this disaster. With the MC fighting like an absolute beast and the second wave of bandits practically serving him breakfast. That is exactly when the main guy pulls back the curtain and steps into the little corner where she is trying to hide. With her voice fading away, she shrinks back and asks if the bandits have already gone back to whatever hole they crawled out of. The girl is white as a sheet and cannot even look the young master in the eyes, just hoping her luck hasn't completely run out yet. He gets closer, tilts her chin up, and asks with a spine-chilling smile if she's super bummed out that he didn't catch a one-way ticket to the graveyard. But the girl plays dumb and says she is actually thrilled. The MC doesn't even buy her act, keeping that look of someone who already knows the end of the story and a smile that promises the absolute worst. Losing his patience, he grabs her by the neck with a firm grip. Desperate and out of breath, she spills the beans and confesses that the second lady paid 10,000 pieces of silver to make sure he never made it back home. He lets go of her neck, commenting with a cold hatred that 10,000 coins is a whole lot of cash, and his stepmom must be in a massive rush to see him pushing up daisies. Catching her breath, the girl lays out the whole scheme. The second lady thinks he is messing up the oldest son's game and, since she is teaming up with the fourth son, she wants to clear the tracks of any bumps in the road. The Chu family tree gets drawn right there. The stepmom and her son, Chu Sheng, the third wife and her son, Chu Sheng, the late first lady of the house, and finally, the MC, the second in line. He remembers that, being the son of a concubine and having zero clout, he decided to ride the coattails of the oldest brother, Chu Kuai, thinking it was the safest bet to keep food on the table. Except the gratitude was short-lived. As soon as he teamed up, the lady of the house and Shu Kai turned their backs on him and didn't lift a finger when the third brother set the trap that sent him to the mines. The MC reflects that the old Shu Shu was a poor guy with absolutely nothing, which is why he threw in the towel, but now, with a new soul and knowing all the spoilers, he's going to fight for the inheritance just to use the family vault and turbocharge his training. With the smile of someone who already beat the game, he figures that, knowing what is coming next, and having the Chu family's power in his hands, nobody is going to put the brakes on his progress anymore. On the carriage floor, Yair begs for her life, and our boy calms the girl down, telling her to relax because he's not the type to get rid of women. She lets out a sigh of relief, and even sheds a tear, fully believing his talk was serious and that she was finally in the clear. Except, with a bone-chilling smile, the MC turns Yueyer's lights out in a single snap, leaving the girl right there, staring blankly into space. He casually tosses her aside and mentions he was just kidding, wondering how she could be dumb enough to believe him after trying to play spy against the guy who literally held her life in his hands. 7 dusty days later, the stage goes back to the True Family Mansion over in Tongzhou. The city is an absolute stunner, super imposing, with an entrance gate that makes anyone feel like an imp. Inside, the second lady rules the roost, the daughter of a martial arts master and bad to the bone. It was only after tying the knot with her about 20 years ago that old man Chu really planted his flag in the region. The stepmom is already at the door waiting for the main guy, sporting a sour face that would make an executioner jealous. She doesn't even bother saying good morning, just goes straight into asking about the whereabouts of Yeyer, the servant she sent as a bonus gift. The MC hits her with his classic sarcasm, saying the girl was way too fragile and he ended up playing with her until the toy broke, and even has the nerve to ask if she doesn't have another one to spare. On the inside, the woman is brewing pure venom, wondering if the bandit plan got leaked and noticing that the kid is a totally different person. Just 1 year ago, he didn't even have the guts to look her in the eye. Swallowing her pride, she tells him to just get inside already, letting him know that his dad and the whole crew are on standby. Our boy struts right into the main hall and pays his respects to his dad, the uncles, and the 3 ladies of the house. Sitting on the throne, the patriarch Chu Zongguang asks if his son finally decided to show his face, and the MC recalls that the old man built that empire from scratch, leaving even the Lee family in the dust. And they've been around since dinosaurs roamed the earth. The leader of the Chus is the kind of guy who demands respect just by breathing, with a stare that makes you feel like he's constantly reading your sins. The MC knows his dad couldn't care less about an heir. His whole deal is just his martial arts training, but the poor guy has been stuck at the exact same level for 2 decades without budging an inch. Xu Zongguang clears his throat and drops the decree. Since the house is in order and the boys have all become men, it's time to pick who is going to sit in the big boss chair. The first lady immediately jumps the gun, saying there's no choice to be made, since Chukai is the oldest, the toughest, and therefore he calls the shots. But the second lady fires back on the spot, reminding everyone that this isn't some royal palace where you just follow the bloodline, and that the master has the final say, casually tossing the hot potato right into the third lady's lap. The third lady, with that innocent little smile, says she is just a poor woman who doesn't understand politics, and whatever her husband decides, goes. The old man cuts the chatter and lays out the plan. Each son is already managing a piece of the family business, so they get 1 year to prove their worth. Whoever pulls in the most profit becomes the heir. End of story. The wives just nod along because nobody in that room is crazy enough to butt heads with the patriarch. The main guy just keeps an eye on the elders and realizes their titles are just for show, since not a single one of them has the guts to peep a word against the boss. He also studies the first lady and Shukai, figuring out that their arrogance is going to shoot them right in the foot, because his dad absolutely despises that kind of showboating. The mother-son duo thinks they're the best thing since sliced bread, which makes them the easiest targets in the world in this whole contest. The third lady, on the other hand, is a sneaky snake. She pretends she doesn't care at all just to win over the old man's trust, who, by the way, totally dotes on the youngest kid, Chu Sheng. But what the MC finds the weirdest is his own dad, who seems to be putting on this whole succession play without the slightest bit of interest in seeing how it ends. He just stays there, analyzing every move, feeling like there's something super fishy about his dad's total lack of enthusiasm. The first lady is already doing the math. Since the MC is on her team, all he has to do is say he disagrees to block the whole game and stop the fourth son from getting a leg up. Except, pulling the rug out from under everyone, our boy gives a polite bow and says his dad is an absolute genius and he fully signs off on the plan. With the smirk of a guy who knows exactly what he's doing, he agrees to the whole thing and leaves all the relatives looking like giant question marks. Chukai loses his mind and yells at the MC, asking if he's drunk or if he wants him to repeat the question. The MC simply replies that he's just being a good son and that his big brother doesn't run the show yet, and if he did, the family would be knee-deep in trouble. The eldest son and his mom are left completely speechless at the kid's sheer audacity, as he now stares everyone down with his chin held high. The MC then turns to his dad and asks that, since the game is officially on, he wants a better slice of the pie because that tiny excuse for a mine won't even cover his expenses, and it'd be totally unfair for him to compete empty-handed. The boss looks at his son in a whole new light, realizing that even the family's useless kid finally decided to show his claws. The three wives go into shock, figuring out that the MC isn't there to be anybody's sidekick, but to take home the trophy himself. Butler Lou decides to stick his nose in and says, "The mine is more than enough, and the second young master should just stay quiet in his lane." Our boy ignores his dad for a split second and waves the butler over, acting like he's about to whisper a secret. The guy, totally full of himself, says he can hear just fine from where he is, without needing to get closer to little people. Without any warning or ceremony, the MC lunges forward and plants a movie-level punch right in the butler's face, leaving the room dead silent. The hit is so brutal that the man takes a solo flight backward and lands in a crumpled mess. And it doesn't stop there. The main guy even delivers a swift kick to the fallen fool, just to make sure the message got delivered loud and clear. The audience is left with their jaws dropping, unable to believe that the pushover kid turned into this absolute tank overnight. The second lady wonders if the MC finally lost his marbles for good to pull a stunt like that in front of everybody. The patriarch jumps out of his throne absolutely furious and yells at his son to cut the crazy act, asking if all respect for his old man just got tossed in the trash. The MC tells him to chill out and says he only lost his cool because a servant has no business putting his 2 cents into boss-level conversations. And if the house turned into such a mess in 1 year, it's his dad's own fault for being way too soft. He steps closer to the butler and lets him know that if a piece of trash like him worked in his mine, he would already be pushing up daisies. And that if his dad is sweet, he is pure hot sauce. The old man reflects that, as much as his son crossed the line, he does have a point. The butler, being a relative of the first lady, thought he was the king of the castle just because the boss was busy meditating in seclusion. He puts an end to the chaos by telling the MC to take it down a notch, and, as a punishment, orders him to cough up 3 months of salary so the butler can go fix his teeth. The boy accepts the fine but puts his foot down, saying his dad can't just leave him with the crumbs from the mine, otherwise this whole race for the inheritance is rigged from the start. The patriarch figures that, even if he doesn't want the MC calling the shots, he can't go looking like an unfair dad in front of the entire family. The first lady still tries to cry a river for the butler, but the boss clips her wings right then and there. He drops the verdict, the subject is closed, and as soon as the luxury caravan from the Yen Kingdom arrives, the one taking over the whole operation is the MC. Our boy thanks his dad with a deeply respectful bow, already knowing that this new gig is exactly the stepping stone he needed. With a look of pure disgust, the MC thinks that the First Lady and Shukai are two absolute clowns. She's completely clueless and he, despite being the oldest, still wastes time bickering with his little brothers. A top-tier useless guy. The patriarch puts an end to the circus, sends everyone packing and announces the meeting is over and his word is final. On their way out, the second lady comments that she thought her biggest problem was the First Lady and Shukai. But she just realized our boy turned into a dangerous shark in a matter of a single year. She walks down the hallway still kind of dizzy, unable to believe the MC pulled a crazy 180 on his personality like that. Her son, Xu Sheng, walks up demanding to know why the MC is still breathing if she'd already ordered his wooden box, but she admits she completely underestimated the kid and never thought his time out in the mines would breed such a monster. She calms her air down by telling him not to sweat it. The MC was crazy to put on a show in front of their dad, and the family doesn't want a madman at the wheel. But her son immediately pitches the idea of sabotaging our boy's caravan. With the smile of someone holding all the right cards, she agrees and swears she paid a fortune to staff that team, and that our main guy won't even be able to boss around his own shadow once he gets there. Right after MC and Gaobei swing by the family pharmacy, where the servants are hustling non-stop, hauling herbs all over the place. Gaobei asks if, following the old tradition, the oldest brother is the one who's going to hand out the cultivation supplies. But the MC lets him know the tune has changed and he is going to set the rhythm himself. A chubby manager, some guy named Joe, greets them with a startled look and asks what the second young master is doing there, since he never shows his face around the shop, and Gaobei explains they came to pick up their share. The guy bursts out laughing and asks if this is a prank, because the whole stash goes straight to the eldest son, and crying at his counter won't do them any good. The MC locks eyes with the guy and asks who gave the order to give his stuff to his brother. But the manager just tells him to go complain to Chukai and stop bothering him. With a blood-red hatred flashing in his eyes, our boy drops a "very well" that literally makes the room temperature drop. Out of nowhere, an older manager shows up and smacks the chubby guy so hard upside the head, he kisses the floor instantly. The old man yells at his subordinate, asking if he forgot who is the boss and who is the servant to be talking to the second young master like that, leaving the chubby guy with nowhere to hide. The veteran tells the guy to bite his tongue and warns him he has absolutely zero say in this place. Then he turns to the MC, apologizes for the mess, and promises the stash is all set, including a top-tier blood condensation pill. The MC simply warns him that he doesn't want to see a second slip-up. The second the MC and Gaobei turn the corner, the manager lets out a massive breath. Relieved he is still in one piece. The chubby guy picks himself up off the floor, asking why he got smacked and why everyone's so scared of the second son. And his boss explains he just saved his hide, since the MC just wrecked Butler Lu using nothing but his fists. The guy goes into pure shock, but the old man orders him to treat the MC with more respect than anyone else, because that kid is definitely not the family clown anymore. Our boy walks away sporting that confident smirk, realizing that fear is finally starting to open some serious doors for him. Back at home, Gaobei won't stop hyping up how the MC handled things at the pharmacy. But the kid corrects him. The manager wasn't being polite. He was showing pure fear. He drops his golden rule. If you aren't good enough to earn respect, you better make sure you are bad enough to be feared. Gaobei gives him a clueless look, and the MC pokes fun at him, saying it's exactly because he's that slow that he never made it past being a regular guard. After that, he tells him to stick some wooden posts in the courtyard so he can slice them up for practice, and the servant sprints off to get it done. Left alone, the MC reflects that martial arts require talent and luck. But since he's just average, the trick is to grind it out with hard work and grab every chance by force. He checks what he brought back from the pharmacy and gives it a thumbs up. The old man handed over way more than the usual quota, packing 30 bags of cheap powder and 10 high-quality blood pills. The MC knows this powder is exactly what he needs to supercharge his muscles and back up his special technique. He starts meditating and feels just how balanced the Taoist training is, generating an energy that makes everything else look like child's play. The very next day, he stays locked into his concentration, hyper-focused on leveling up. After pulling an all-nighter training, he feels his energy pathways open up and realizes he finally tapped into true chi. Now the next step is to sharpen his blade skills. Standing in front of the wooden posts, he notices his green dragon in the sleeve technique is still just going through the motions. It lacks the real soul of the strike, which is why he needs to drill the basics until he drops. He draws his weapon, knowing that to become a true master, you have to repeat the same move 1,000 times if that's what it takes. And then the MC starts the dance, moving like lightning and slamming the steel into the post without a single drop of mercy. You can barely track it with your eyes. He's attacking so fast, totally dialed in on every single detail of the blade's swing. The training is so brutal that a chunk of wood flies off into the distance, sliced perfectly clean by the sheer force of the impact. Just then, Gaobei rolls up with some fresh gossip. The managers of the new caravan are all lackeys for the second lady, and they already promised to make the MC's life a living hell. The MC asks if the plan is supposed to be a secret, and Gaobei confirms that even the birds know about it by now, because the stepmom's crew is out there running their mouths to everyone. Flashing a villainous grin, he thinks to himself that this mother-son duo is just begging for trouble. As far as he's concerned, people who won't follow orders and people who are no longer breathing are basically the exact same thing. He turns around and drops a bomb on Gaobei. He tells the guard to gear up because they're going to meet the bandit boss Makuo the next morning out at Yangqiu Mountain. Seeing the servant practically fainting from fear, the MC laughs and asks what the big drama is, since bandits don't bite, and guarantees the guy is going to be their best business partner yet. The MC arrives at the hideout and asks Makuo to clear the room so they can talk man to man, but the boss claims he doesn't keep secrets from his boys. So our boy goes straight for the jugular. He says he wants to talk to whoever is actually pulling Makuo's strings, because he knows he isn't just some two-bit thief, but the guy laughs and challenges him to prove it. Without beating around the bush, the MC drops the mic. He tells them they are the Ku Giants, the leftovers from that infamous northern gang, leaving the bandits completely dumbfounded. In a split second, the goons lunge at the MC with steel in hand, smashing the table to pieces in all the excitement. Except our main guy is smoother than butter. He dodges every single attack and pins Makuo down with a blade resting right against the leader's throat. He tells Makuo to get his guys to chill, explaining that if he meant them any harm, he would have already put a bounty on all their heads, and the boss, totally stunned, asks how the kid figured out their top secret info. The MC just thinks to himself that the game's script never fails. He recalls that 30 years ago, the 36 Ku giants had the North running scared, and even went toe-to-toe with the Yan Empire. He remembers that the Empire had to call in the big martial arts sects to handle the crew, wiping out almost everyone and scattering whoever was left to the winds. And, from what he could remember of the lore, the rumor was dead on. The last of the Ku giants had come to hide right there in Wei County. Back in the present, the MC lays his cards on the table. He says he knows exactly where their big boss, Heavenly King Peng Hu, is hiding out, and asks if that little secret is worth the price of a partnership. Ma Kuo's jaw drops, and he demands to know if the kid is bluffing. But our boy swears he will see it with his own eyes once he is face to face with the big guy, and that he isn't crazy enough to lie at a time like this. Convinced, Ma Kuo takes the deal and tells him the big man is over at Beiyuan Mountain. Without wasting a single second, the crew hits the road. 5 days of marching later, they catch sight of the stronghold on Beiyuan, the gang's hidden headquarters. Ma Kuo explains that the place was built super carefully to make sure nobody ever spilled the beans, and asks the MC to hold up for a minute while he does the honors. Soon enough, Ma Kuo comes back with a guy built like a brick wall. This boss Han Bao, the leader's former bodyguard. The brute instantly asks if the kid is the one claiming to know where the master is. The MC confirms it and, out of the corner of his eye, catches that Han Bao is at the absolute peak of the blood condensation realm. The guy is a walking tank compared to him. Han Bao gets straight to the point. He tells him to cut the chit-chat and just say what he wants, but warns him that if his asking price is too high, he'll settle the tab with his fists. The MC says the intel is a gift on the house, and reveals that Peng Hu got roughed up by the Yan dynasty and is recovering over at Huangshan Mountain, way out east, leaving Han Bao completely floored. He even tips Han Bao off to send somebody to check a secret sign in Duang Valley. On the inside, the MC is thanking his lucky stars for memorizing every silly little detail of the original game. Now that he's a believer, Han Bao asks what the damage is, and our boy, flashing that villainous grin, says he just needs a tiny favor from Boss Han to call it even. Han Bao offers him a stool to sit on and says he's going to send someone to verify the tip. If it's legit, he's in his debt. But he wants to know exactly what the MC's angle is. The kid tosses a question right back. What is Han Bao going to do once he finds the boss? The boss states the obvious. He's going to round up the whole crew from the stronghold and head out to meet the leader. The MC shoots that down instantly. He explains that Peng Hu is in recovery mode, and dragging a huge mob over there is only going to put a massive target on his back for the Yan dynasty. The real play is to stack up cash and resources for when the master is ready to throw hands again. Han Bao says he'll figure that out later, but insists on knowing the price. Then the MC drops the bombshell. He wants a partnership so they can get filthy rich together. The boss's eyes light up immediately and, with an intrigued smile, he asks our boy to paint him a picture of how this whole scheme is going to work. The MC breaks down the situation. The Yangqiu bandits pull so many heists that the caravans either vanished or are blowing all their cash on escorts, which is totally tanking the thieves' own profits. Han Bao agrees and asks what the catch is. The pitch is bold. Since there's no law out there, they make their own law. They offer guaranteed escort services for anyone who pays the toll. Everybody makes money, and nobody gets hurt. Han Bao points out that doing that will paint a giant target on his back for the rest of the mountain's outlaws. The MC calms the brute down. He says the other bandits are just a bunch of small-timers, and that Han Bao, who used to be a Xiantian master, could crush them with one foot. Not to mention the Chu family will gladly give them a little push. In his thoughts, the MC gets a little shock. He had no clue Han Bao used to be at the Xiantian level, and realizes he totally underestimated the guy's power. Han Bao asked what the rich kid wants in exchange for this consulting gig, and the MC asks for two things: a free pass for his caravan, and some backup to get rid of a certain problem. The boss agrees to the free pass, but shoots down the hit job, saying that tipping him off about the leader's location isn't enough to turn him into a hired gun. The MC counters, saying he's got more to bring to the table, insider intel on the caravan routes. Han Bao admits that sounds like a good deal, and the MC locks it in, saying he's already going to send over the details on a Chu family caravan as a grand opening gift. Grinning from ear to ear, the boss accepts the pact, fully believing he's getting the better end of the deal. But the MC, with an ice-cold look, thinks to himself, that is the Chu family's caravan, not his. His master plan to burn the others is running full steam ahead. Bao lets out a chuckle, commenting that these rich family heirs are way more ruthless than most bandits, since they won't even spare their own blood, and seals the deal for good. The kid says his goodbyes, claiming the pleasure was all his, and promises the coordinates will arrive via carrier pigeon. Back at the Chu family HQ, things are absolutely chaotic. Merchandise is everywhere, and the supervisor is screaming his lungs out to hurry up the departure. But out of nowhere, the MC and Galbei roll up acting like they own the place. And he yells out asking who gave the order to move the carriages. A guy named Zheng Chuan, the caravan manager, walks over all formal and polite, and the MC asks him who is running this joint right now. The manager flashes a totally fake smile and says it's the second young master. But the MC instantly corners him, asking who authorized them to leave before he even checked the profits or the cargo. Zhang Quan apologizes with that "I did it because you weren't here" look, but swears everything is by the book and that he'll put his neck on the line if anything goes south. The MC steps right up to the guy and drops an incredibly sarcastic compliment, saying he did a beautiful job and really hopes he doesn't live to regret it. The manager promises that serving the Chus is his life's purpose. On the inside, the manager is laughing it off. He's run this route 1,000 times and just thinks the MC is some brat trying to show off. Our boy takes a step back and, with a subtle smirk, just wishes the poor fool good luck. The second the caravan kicks up some dust, the MC turns to Gao Bei and tells him to forward the schedule and route straight to Han Bao and his crew. The caravan hits the road, driving into a section of the path where the brush is super tall and the sun doesn't even shine through. One of the helpers asks Zhang Chuan if he's not terrified of the second young master's wrath. The manager, overflowing with confidence, says the Chu family has rules, and since they are totally clean, the MC can't even lay a finger on them. Right after that, he announces to everyone, if any bandits show up, drop everything and run, because merchandise can be replaced, but a life can't. Except as they head into the pitch-black forest, a voice coming from the shadows tells them they don't even need to run, because they can just take a permanent dirt nap right there. Zhang Quan freezes from head to toe the moment he spots the bandits and screams for everyone to run for the hills. The manager goes into a complete panic, screaming like there's no tomorrow. Without even looking back, the whole crew, Zhang Quan included, abandons the carts and dives into the bushes to try and make a break for it. Watching the whole thing go down from a distance, Galbei asks if that was really the plan all along, and the MC confirms it with a glint in his eye. Now his dear brother is going to have to do some heavy explaining about where the cargo went. But Zhang Chuan's escape gets cut short. Ma Kuo and his guys pop up right in front of him, asking with a totally mocking tone where he thinks he's going in such a rush. The manager realizes the ambush was a setup, and Ma Kuo confirms it. He says the second young master sends his regards and wishes him an excellent final trip. It finally clicks for Zhang Quan. The MC sacrificed his own caravan just to take him out of the picture. In pure despair, he only manages to let out a scream of no before Ma Kuo swings his giant blade down. The steel comes crashing down straight for the manager, who watches his end approaching with his eyes wide open in sheer terror. With the manager's body still warm, Ma Kuo signals his men to rip off the tarps and check out the gift our boy sent over for the gang. Meanwhile, back at the Chu mansion, things go completely south. The emergency alarm blares and everybody rushes to the main hall, because the news about the hijacked caravan just dropped like a bomb. On the way there, Chu Sheng nudges his mom and asks if the MC didn't have a hand in this attack, since he and the late manager were trading shots right before departure. But the second lady dismisses it instantly, figuring the kid wouldn't have the guts or the connections to hire Yang Chu's elite bandits. She stays completely arrogant, totally underestimating her stepson, and thinking that 1 year in the mines wouldn't give him the brains to pull off a masterstroke of this size. They walk into the hall and the vibe is heavy. The patriarch looks like he's ready to put someone in front of a firing squad at any second. The survivors show up with their tails tucked between their legs and recount the tragedy. They say it was a total wipeout, and the bandits left no stone unturned. The patriarch, who is already out of patience, decides to put an end to the subject and announces he's going to lock himself away for secluded meditation. But the MC takes a step forward and cuts the old man off. He volunteers to lead the next batch of merchandise down that exact same dangerous route, arguing that the caravan's morale is completely shot and they need a real leader. His dad gives the kid a huge scolding, saying he doesn't have the mileage for this, that leading a caravan is just asking for trouble, and that no direct heir of the family lowers themselves to doing grunt work like that. But our boy puts his foot down. He says the pharmacy can't just stop running, and that as a Chu, it's his duty to stick his neck out and restore the men's confidence, asking for his dad's blessing. Even with one foot out the door, the boss finally caves in, but drops a warning. If things go south, it's entirely on him. The MC thanks him with that enigmatic smile. The First Lady watches the scene in utter disgust, thinking the MC has gone totally off the deep end for taking on a completely doomed mission like that. That night, the mood in the servants' quarters feels like a wake. The guys who made it back alive are getting completely shredded by the gossip and dirty looks from all the other workers. One of them then saying the shame is just too much. They lost the cargo, their buddies and their honor, and now they're the laughingstock of the entire mansion. The sense of defeat is everywhere, with the survivors feeling like the absolute bottom of the barrel. That's exactly when the MC shows up right in the middle of them and barks the order. Everybody up and geared up, we're heading out to the Yan Kingdom right this second, leaving the crew in total shock. A couple of wise guys start complaining, saying they need some time to process their trauma and come up with a strategy. The MC just thinks to himself about how much his dad let these people turn into lazy freeloaders. He totally blows up and lets them have it, calling the guys a bunch of cowards and reminding them that while their coworkers were losing their lives, they didn't even get a scratch. The silence becomes deafening. The men hang their heads, completely shriveling up in the face of the young master's fury. The MC keeps tearing into them. He reminds them that they get paid extremely well, and if they're too scared of catching a bad break, there's a whole line of people dying to take their paychecks, and calls for Gao Bei. He tells the servant to go over to the heavy labor section and offer the spot to anyone who has real fire in their eyes, promising 10 taels as a base pay and half the profits as a bonus. The second money enters the conversation, the guys instantly change their tune, begging to stay on board. The MC warns them that the chance is right now. Whoever wants to get rich, follow him. They head into the forest, and our MC is surrounded by a gang of bandits led by Feng Yidao, one of Han Bao's right-hand men, who immediately starts screaming for them to drop everything and get ready to be taken out. The caravan breaks into a panic all over again, with the men cursing the moment they decided to get out of bed, thinking the end is finally here. But our MC, sporting that little smirk of someone who literally has the script in his hand, thinks to himself, finally the show has started.